All right, talking to Jonas and Cory of Jonas and the Massive Attraction. How long have you two been working together, so to speak?
14 years. We started 14 years.
long years.
14 long ass years. No, this will be our 15th summer, I think, working together. We started out. I was a wee youngin'. I was 16, 17 years old, and my father wanted to find a guitar player for a side project that we wanted to start up called the Blues Blooded. And my dad was out and spending some times in the jam bars, and had a chance to see Cory play one night. Gave me a call and he said, "You got to check this guy out." So the next week, Cory and I got on stage together and jammed out. And,
I remember the phone call. It was like, are you interested in playing with us? I said, "You got gigs?" And they said, "No." And I said, "Call me when you got some." It's been 14 years.
Yeah. So we got some gigs, and we were quite a blues-based project before. Cory and I have a lot of blues influences, and that was kind of the intention of the band in the beginning. But the natural progression just seemed to turn toward a little bit more of the rock and roll sensibility, and as you can see, by now we've kind of refined our sound to pretty much that big rock sound.
The big rock sound, and the new album is called The Big Slice. And what's interesting is Jonas. There have been a few albums under the name Jonas, I think two, and
yes,
a live one, the live DVD, right?
Right.
Why now? Is this the first album under the name Jonas and the Massive Attraction?
Well, actually, when I first signed the contract, coming out of Rubberman, my other band, when I signed the quote-unquote solo contract, it was always my intention to have a band name. But because I had come out of the Jonas and the Blues Blooded and Rubberman, there was a bit of a name going on already in the city, and I think the record label wanted to juice that a little bit. They were against me calling it after a band or naming the band. I tried for the second album to do the same thing, and I still got resistance on it. And now we're on the third album, and we're no longer working with them. We've got our own record label going, and that was the first decision out of that contract that I wanted to make sure went through. So yeah, the Massive Attraction. I mean, when you see us on stage, it's very clear that we're a band. This is not a solo project at all. It never was.
And also with the new album, Cory, you co-wrote some songs. Well, you both co-wrote some of the songs, right?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what part did Simon Wilcox play?
Simon actually, she weighed in on it. I think every one of the songs. Pretty much.
Right?
She was our co-writing partner on the entire album.
Simon's a wonderful lyricist, and she was an artist in her own right. So she's got a good handle on like the presentation as a musician would play the music, and she's very, very talented and craftful with her lyric writing. So
yeah, she was a huge asset to us lyrically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we when you go into especially a third album, there's a lot of pressure behind the material, because you have to back up your first and second album, and the third album tends to be, I think the critics really kind of want to they're usually harshest on you for that one for some reason. And we really wanted to make sure that it was solid, that the album had a lot of substance, that it was, the songs were strong even in their most raw state, in their most stripped down state, that when you play with just vocals and a guitar, that there's still some substance to it. There's a lot of albums out these days that I find are seemingly quite good albums, but there's a lot of bells and whistles in the production. And when you strip it down, there's actually not really much of a song there. And we really wanted to make sure that this album was all songs that could be done and appreciated in their most naked state.
Yeah, and the sound you were going for, were you just going for the biggest rock sound you can manage, because that's what it sounds like?
It does sound pretty huge. That's really thanks to Togs Salter.
The producer.
The producer.
I think he saw in us too that we had very, very bold characters on stage, sound-wise, and I think when guitar players or singers hear either one of us, they can immediately know who it is and recognize us by our sound.
But
so it helped enhance
the producers have always had problems bottling your sound. Getting that sound on tape.
That lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? Yeah, to get that the live, wily kind of sound that comes out of his amp, and to be able to can it. I think Togs did a great job at doing that and building up the layers of the guitars, and like a good book or you know, a good story, I think an album needs to be one of those things that when you hear, you know, you hear it for the 100th time, you're still hearing new things in it, and it's still telling a new story. And we wanted to do that with this album. We didn't want to write an album necessarily of songs that were, you know, instantaneous hits that, you know, you get bored of. We wanted to hear songs that are that grow on you.
Do you feel, up until now or even still now, that you need the live show to really sell it? Like, this is who you guys are, or do you think that's possible on an album?
Yeah, I mean, you can try to get that magic on an album. I think the only way that you can really do that is to, you know, maybe do a live album.
And let's see if it sells.
Well, but you know, the reality is that we are a live band. I mean, we're you know, we're road guys that, you know, love getting on the stage. It's you know, it's second nature, and so to be able to try to put across your live sound and that vibe is very tough on an album. I hope, you know. Hopefully, even though it's not necessarily got the live, the same kind of live energy, it's still got its own magic, and you know,
maybe get people out to the shows.
Well, that's it. Maybe get people out to the shows, exactly, and then in the shows we'll fully convert, right?
Yeah. So the record again is called The Big Slice, and
yeah,
the title track leads it off. Is that the anthem, really?
Big Slice, yeah, it's a very anthemic rock song. Actually, you know, we really wanted one of those songs that was fun to play live, that everybody could kind of get into and you know, fist pump and sing along with easily. It was also the last song that we wrote going into the studio. We thought that we had the album pretty much paced out before we went into the studio, and about a week before, Togs called up Cory and I and said, "Listen, guys, you gotta make sure you know, to write at least one more, you know, big anthemic rock song." So we hashed it out in about, I think it was 15 or 20 minutes. It was one of those songs that was just kind of, you know, but then we got into the studio and tightened it up a little bit, and we were happy with the results. It was, you know, it gave us it gave us a really fun feeling. We, you know, it was one of those albums, you know, I guess tying into your last question, yes. It's the closest to the live vibe on the album, I think, of any of our songs too.
I kind of got that sense.
Cool.
Well, congratulations on the new record. Hope you get another Juno nomination.
Thank you.
Maybe even win.
Thank you.
Possible.
Yeah.
And
well,
thanks so
great.
much for coming
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
ExploreMusic wears English Laundry apparel.